called the health department. I've made multiple complaints. I haven't even gotten a phone call back. When I reached out to you, you contacted me immediately.
First at 5, unbearable conditions for an Indianapolis woman living in an apartment on the city's east side.
And with temperatures in the 90s this week, she's having to go without working air conditioning, and that can be a health hazard. And she says others in her complex are in the same situation.
She tried to get the issue resolved with management, but says she's getting the runaround. So RTV6's Cameron Riddle is going to work finding out why she's not getting the help she needs.
Summer is here, and so is the heat. For most people, it's a welcome change from Mother Nature, except those who can't get a break from the dog days of summer because the air conditioning in their apartment isn't working. Residents living in the Greenway apartment complex on Indy's east side say they have repeatedly asked the apartment management to fix the air. After sending numerous work orders and multiple phone calls, their efforts have done no good.
Every time we call, we get no response. We've even called blocks a couple times, and they'll answer that call, but they won't answer a regular number, and they just refuse to fix it.
Coming up at 6, we take a look at Indiana law and see if air conditioning is something your landlord has to provide. Plus, you'll see what happens when RTV6 showed up at the management office. In Indianapolis, Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
Now, we still have not heard yet back from the apartment complex. We will continue to follow this story in search for answers.
And sweltering heat continues across central Indiana, as Cameron just mentioned, especially where we have seen a lot of sun. Storm Team 6 meteorologist Kyle Mounts is here. And Kyle, how hot did we get today? You could feel it.
Yeah, we made it to 92.
I believe it.
You mentioned the feeling it part. It's that humidity that's out there too. Yeah, you notice it as soon as you step out the door. And here's the other part of that equation. Yeah, the dew point. Anytime that's around 70 degrees, it's that stifling, very muggy air. And we got to factor that in with the temperature. And that's why we're getting heat index values close to 100 degrees. Bloomington feels like 99 for you, feels like 98 in Terre Haute, Lafayette. Feels like 97 in Indianapolis. Those temperatures very slow to cool here if you don't get under a downpour. Temperatures into the lower 70s by tomorrow morning. Speaking of downpours, we've got a couple of those that have moved through the Muncie area. Primary threat here is going to be lightning and some heavy rainfall. You can see another batch of rain moving in and another downpour popping up and moving around the Newcastle area. A couple more that are starting to move in from the southwest. We'll continue to monitor these and look ahead to tomorrow in just a few minutes.
Again, as you can see, temperatures are downright hot right now, as Kyle was mentioning. So we're working for you, making sure you're aware of what you should be doing to keep yourself healthy. Doctors say if you need to be outside, make sure you take frequent water breaks and get in the air conditioning or a cool place every 30 to 60 minutes. If you can't find any AC, find a tree and grab some shade there. If you can, head out to a public pool to keep yourself cool. But again, the big thing here, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
And a new report reveals a dangerous trend on Indiana roadways, drivers under the influence of drugs. It's a problem Call 6 Investigates Kara Kenny exposed back in May. She joins us now with why the problem impacts all of us.
The 4th of July weekend is a busy time on Indiana highways, and travel is on many people's minds, which is why the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute released this report.
In many ways, drug driving is surpassing alcohol as a big problem on Indiana roadways. The Indiana Criminal Justice Institute and IU Public Policy Institute analyzed crash statistics from 2018. They found of the drivers killed in deadly crashes, 45% tested positive for drugs, compared to 38% who were alcohol impaired. Will Wingfield says people are getting the message about drinking and driving, but not about using drugs and getting behind the wheel.
If you think about the history of alcohol-impaired driving and the attention that's been placed to that over decades, drug-impaired driving has not had that same level of focus. So we're trying to add emphasis to it to make sure that it gets equal, if not increased billing to the alcohol impairment, because we're seeing that in the statistics.
The Institute is helping to address the problem by securing funding for more drug recognition experts who are trained in detecting when a driver is on drugs. They're also helping to reduce the backlog at the state's toxicology lab so they can process more impaired driver cases.
Here's some signs of an impaired driver: driving on the wrong side of the road, stopping for no reason, and not using headlights after dark. If you see an impaired driver, call 911. Reporting in Indianapolis, Kara Kenny, RTV6.
Thanks, Kara. And an update tonight. The Indianapolis Zoo says 2 elephants diagnosed with a potentially deadly virus are now healthy. The zoo said in a statement, Zahara and Kadar are both healthy and have beaten the virus. We will continue to monitor the entire herd through frequent blood testing. Now, the same virus killed elephants Naya and Kalina at the Indianapolis Zoo earlier this year.
Close the caps now! Close the caps now!
Protesters rallied at Senator Todd Young's Indianapolis office today, demanding the country close its detention facilities holding migrant families. About 100 people gathered on Illinois Street downtown at the door of Young's office building. It was part of a nationwide protest held in major cities across the country. Some national lawmakers visited the centers this week, reporting inhumane conditions like the migrants being told to drink water from a toilet bowl. The demonstrators called for an inhumane treatment to stop.
If I treated an animal the way these people are being treated, I would be arrested. I should be arrested. You cannot treat human beings this way. It's not an issue of anything but human rights and dignity and humanity and just being a good human being.
A spokesman for Senator Young said he voted to allocate more than $4 billion for humanitarian supplies and that he has voted to secure the borders.
Customers of Indiana's largest electric company are facing the possibility of higher rates. Duke Energy announced a proposed rate hike for residential customers of 19%. And according to its president, Duke hopes to increase its yearly revenues by about $395 million. If approved, the 19% residential rate hike would be phased in over 2 years. A 17% increase would take place in year 1, with an additional 2% in the second year. Duke expects the higher charges to begin next year. This request will go before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, which will hold a series of public meetings, and the commission could approve something less.
Right now, a homicide investigation is underway after a man was found dead outside of a home in Muncie this morning. Muncie police were called to the area of Centennial Avenue near Blaine Street around 6:30 this morning. Investigators say they found a man suffering from unknown injuries. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The man's identity has not been released. The circumstances surrounding his death are still unclear, but Muncie police say they are considering it a homicide investigation. A woman is now dead after a shooting on Indianapolis's north side early this morning, and police are trying to figure out who pulled the trigger. IMPD says it happened on the 3700 block of Central Avenue just after 5 a.m. Officers say they found a woman with at least 1 gunshot wound laying in front of a nursing home in the area. Medics rushed her to the hospital where she later died. Her name has not been released. If you have any information about this case at all, call Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS. Now to breaking news. Just into the RTV6 newsroom, IMPD confirms a fatal crash involving 2 vehicles on the city's northwest side. That wreck happened at 56th and High School Road around 4 p.m. Metro Police tell us 1 person has died from their injuries. It is still not clear what caused the incident, but avoid 56th and High School Road as crews continue to clear up that area.
Still ahead at 5:30 on RTV6. The way we date is changing, and for some, they're getting themselves into some awkward situations. Working for you, our Scripps team prepares you for the new trends.
But first, here at 5, a multi-million-dollar youth sports development proposed in one local city. What to expect and what it's being modeled after. Kyle.
We have a few downpours out there this evening, and we'll do it again tomorrow. In fact, on Wednesday, there's a marginal risk some of those storms could be on the strong to severe side. We'll talk more about the impacts and the timing. You're watching RTV6 News at 5.
Than my migraines. I am Kelly.
You're watching RTV6 News at 5. New developments tonight. Investigators now say they believe a pair of overnight fires were intentionally set. They happened within blocks of each other on the city's northeast side. The first fire started around 2 this morning near 18th and North Talbot. 3 people were home, and they put out much of the fire with a garden hose. 20 minutes later, firefighters were called to a fire at a duplex at North Pennsylvania and Charlotte Place. No injuries were reported. Investigators tell us a person of interest was detained and questioned, but was later released.
New at 5, a more than $86 million youth sports and commercial development is going up in Kokomo, and work is expected to begin later this year. The city says the same developer of Grand Park Sports Complex in Westfield is behind this new project. Land directly east of Darrow Chapel Park will be used for new businesses, office, retail, and restaurant space, along with new hotels. The city of Kokomo will also also create 8 new multi-purpose fields, 4 high school sized and 4 youth league sized at Darrow Chapel Park. The artificial turf fields would be arranged in 2 quadplex diamond-shaped setups with concessions and other amenities in the middle. City officials hope this will bring more visitors to Kokomo. Some areas still need to be rezoned.
A lot of students are getting a break from school, and if you're a family with a college-age student, you may be financially preparing for the fall. If that's you, scammers know it, and you are their target. Working for you, what you need to know to keep your identity and your money safe. On its front webpage, student loan servicer Cornerstone says someone is posing as a legitimate loan servicer and offering paid repayment services, but it's not legit. The big giveaway, one word: paid.
It is illegal for them to charge you up front before they lower or settle your debt.
The government has been cracking down on fake loan servicers. They say servicers have taken more than $100 million from people, charging up to $1,000 up front and promising loan forgiveness or modifications that they cannot make happen. She says there are legitimate businesses that offer to help, but she says they can't do anything you can't do on your own for free. And there are some signs of a possible student loan scam: upfront fees or membership costs, promised loan forgiveness, wanting your FSA password, promoting a relationship with the Department of Education. And you can work out loan repayment or consolidation through legitimate loan servicers at the government student loan website. That's www.studentloans.gov.
Developing tonight, the Wall Street Journal reports that Nike is pulling a flag-themed tennis shoe after former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick complained about it. The shoe's heel has a U.S. flag with 13 white stars and a circle on it, known as the Betsy Ross flag. The Wall Street Journal cited unnamed sources familiar with the matter who said Kaepernick told the company that he and others found the flag symbol there offensive because of its connection to slavery. The Journal reports the Air Max 1 USA shoe has already been sent to stores to go on sale this week for the 4th of July holiday. Kaepernick is a Nike endorser, by the way. Wimbledon is one of the biggest and most prestigious tennis tournaments in the world.
And right now on the women's side, it isn't Serena or Venus Williams making headlines. It's the teenage tennis superstar, Corey Coco Gauff.
She can't believe it.
American Corey Coco Gauff took over the Wimbledon court with a huge win, beating one of her idols, 5-time champ Venus Williams, in the first round. And she did so in dominating fashion, winning in straight sets.
And by the year Coco was born, that's 2004, Venus had already won 2 Wimbledon titles. But the teen says she didn't let that distract her. Coco grateful as she shared a long handshake at the net with her idol.
I was just telling her thank you for everything that she's done for the sport, and she's been an inspiration for many people.
Well, while she's competing in Wimbledon, Coco still has to keep up her schoolwork. She took a science test during the early qualifying rounds, which she passed, by the way. She'll be out in the court again tomorrow, where she's facing the number 139 player in the world. Hey, when you see someone who's amazing at such a young age, you zero in on them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Congrats, Coco. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're maybe playing some sports around central Indiana, yeah, it's tough to do here. Sizzling. You may want to wait for that sun to go down a little bit. Now, we've had some thunderstorms out there, getting some reports of damage around the Ball State University campus there. Some apartments, reports of the roof blown off of part of those, the University Village apartments there around Ball State and Muncie. So we'll continue to watch the situation here. You can see Storm Team 6 radar, and the downpours are fairly isolated. Let's take you back into the area. You can see another thunderstorm that's going to be moving through Muncie, also around Newcastle and Winchester, a quick downpour. It's going to be pretty quick moving, so we don't really anticipate severe weather and flooding issues, but certainly could have some lightning. We've got more of that moving into Jackson County and southwestern Monroe County, another one that's popping up there in southern Park County. So it's all happening with the heating of the day. We've got plenty of that heat. Our temperatures back up to 92 in downtown. It's 94 in Kokomo. There's a rain-cooled 77 in Muncie. As we go through the next few hours, those temperatures still in the 80s right on through through 9 o'clock, 77 for you at 11 with an isolated thunderstorm. Otherwise, we'll have mostly cloudy skies tonight, and those temperatures are going to start off pretty close to where they were this morning. Lower 70s around central Indiana. And planning out the middle of your week here on your Wednesday, we've got a dry start to the day once again, and that will allow temperatures to get back to the middle 80s for the lunch hour. Then we'll increase that chance for showers and storms tomorrow, but I still think the coverage is only about 30%, so a lot of us are going to stay dry during the day tomorrow, with temperatures making their way into the middle and upper 80s. Still some areas squeaking out around 90 degrees. Here's TrueCast, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Pretty similar timeline to what we've got going on today. Once we get towards sunset, then we'll start to see those thunderstorms falling apart and quieting down once again. High temperatures tomorrow will be around 90 for you in Bloomington, 88 in Lafayette, 89 in Indianapolis, and with the humidity around, yeah, it's still going to feel like the middle 90s out there. On Thursday for your 4th of July, we have a dry start to the day there as well, but as we get into the afternoon, a little better chance for some showers and thunderstorms. For fireworks time, we got the chance for rain in there, but it does start to go down a little bit. Still going to be on the warm side with temperatures well into the 70s to lower 80s across central Indiana by 10 o'clock Thursday evening. And there you can see as we go into Thursday afternoon, those isolated showers and storms. 7-day planning forecast, put it all together here for you. And the one good news, as the rain chances increase a little bit, the temperature does come back down, but only to about average. Those afternoon highs in the middle 80s, but we'll take it a nice little break after 4 days in a row here of 90-degree heat.
Quite the damage to hear about.
Yeah, around Ball State, and some roof damage there. So we'll continue to watch that. That should be fairly isolated with the downpours today.
All right, Kyle, thank you for that.
Well, the design of our coin currency could be changing. Meet the man whose artwork could forever be etched into our country's currency. We'll be right back.
It's from 4:30 to 7.
Welcome back to the News at 5 here. Tonight, we take you inside the courtroom of one of the biggest murder cases.
The man convicted of killing a nanny could face the death penalty. Tonight, what both sides are telling the jury, who will decide his fate.
And for the first time, we hear from the victim's family. Ted Rowlands with our Court TV team joins us now.
Good afternoon. I'm Ted Rowlands at Court TV. Scott Nelson tried to object from his seat at the defense table this morning as his older brother testified on his behalf.
I object, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, you have an attorney that makes objections. You understand, sir, you're not permitted to make an objection?
I object to all these interruptions.
Mr. Nelson, do you understand that you can talk with your attorneys about making objections, that you cannot make objections?
I'd like to talk now.
You need a moment to talk with your attorneys? Go ahead.
Nelson was scolded by Judge White in this case. He's already been convicted of murdering Jennifer Fulford. Now, Nelson's own life hangs in the balance. The same jury that convicted him must decide whether to recommend the death penalty or life without parole. This is day 2 of the penalty phase in the state of Florida versus Scott Nelson. It was a very emotional day yesterday in court as friends and family of Jennifer Fulford took the stand to tell the jury how much her life meant to them.
Jenny was loving. A list of things that Jenny loved could go on for hours. First and foremost, she loved her family. She loved people. She loved the holidays. She loved animals. She loved life. She loved me. I will always love her.
Prosecutors in this case presented aggravating factors, trying to convince jurors that Scott Nelson should pay for his crime with his life. The defense has painted a much different picture, a picture of a troubled life, complete with mental illness, drug abuse, and abuse at the hands of his family. The question is, will the mitigating evidence be enough to spare Nelson's life? We'll continue to bring you gavel-to-gavel coverage of this very compelling trial right here on Court TV. I'm Ted Rowlands. Now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Ted. And you can follow multiple high-profile court cases 24/7 on CourtTV.com.
The artwork on U.S. coins could be getting a facelift, and our Scripps team is talking to the artist who is getting a once-in-a-lifetime chance to forever leave his mark.
The U.S. Mint recently selected Stephen Kenny, a surrealist painter from St. Petersburg, Florida, for its Artist Infusion program to submit designs that could be used on coins.
And Kenny says Salvador Dali has inspired his career. Kenny is known for vivid art, blending nature and the surreal. His work can be bold, even in your face, but he says the 3 designs he's submitted to the Mint so far are more family-friendly than a lot of his wild, inventive creations.
And he doesn't mind toning things down, not when he considers what is at stake.
This thing is going to be around forever. And people are going to be looking at your work and talking about you forever now.
Kenny says his 3 pieces are under wraps and a hush-hush for now. This is the federal government after all. He's also not quite sure which coin he'll be on.
If the U.S. Mint chooses his work, it will be Treasury Department Secretary Steven Mnuchin who has the final say on whether the design eventually makes it into a coin. So we'll have to wait and see.
That is so cool, though. We'll see.
Headed your way, new at 6, a family demands answers after a problem with a loved one's headstone persistent nearly a year. Ahead, RTV6's Stephanie Wade steps in.
But first on the Now Indy, pets and fireworks do not always mix. The biggest danger to your pet during those blasts and what you can do to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. You're watching RTV6. We'll be right back with the Now Indy.